Hello, my name is Clayton, and welcome to episode 141 of the Watch Dog podcast. I'm a professional dog runner and watch enthusiast talking to his pals about dogs and watches. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for listening. You know, I appreciate it. Well, happy Watches and Wonders week, everybody. It's Christmas for watch enthusiasts. Christmas in April. Are you happy with what was under the tree this year? Or was your stocking full of coal? Were the Swiss watch brands the Grinch this year? I don't think I really had any expectations at all. I'm not in a position to buy anything, even if I really was in love with something. So I was happy just to be more of a fly on the wall this year. At its core, Watches and Wonders is, or should be, I guess anyway, a showcase for the ultra high-end watchmaking. And this year didn't disappoint with that. We'll talk more about it in a second. Seemed it was mostly the high-end brands doing the cool stuff this year, especially, while the more affordable brands stuck to more conservative moves. I'm not going to go on a long rant here, but I think this is because high-end collectors put their money where their mouths are. And those of us on the affordable end don't all the time. We say we want brands like Tudor to do interesting things, and then we only buy Black Bays. The independent brands can do unique stuff because they know people will buy them. The MB&Fs, the Mosers, all that kind of stuff. Tudor hears you saying you want the North Flag back, but they remember that absolutely nobody bought them. There's a reason they only make the Black Bay. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Rant over. Maybe we can do that in another episode. I'm not going to cover Watches and Wonders the traditional way, like you've heard every other YouTuber and podcaster do this week. They're way better at it. But I do want to go through some of my highlights. Starting off, I think I recorded my favorite watch collaborations episode a week early, a week too early, because I now have a new favorite, a new champion. The John Mayer G-Shock 6900 has been tossed aside. There's a new champ on the block. It is the Moser and Reebok Streamliner The Pump. Yes, you heard that right. A watch modeled after the Pump sneaker by Reebok. Listen, I'm a kid who grew up in the 80s and 90s. So the Pump is right in that sweet spot for me when it comes to pop culture nostalgia, right? I could not afford the Pump back when I was a kid. I settled for British Knights a couple years after they were popular, after people had moved on to LA Gear or whatever else was popular back when I was a kid. I had all the popular clothes once the hype died down. When Walmart started selling bum equipment sweatshirts, that's when I got one. Oh, bum equipment. I'll never forget my cousin Tanya having a bum equipment sweatshirt. And I don't know how old you all are, but maybe you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But I know there's some of you who do. Yeah, my cousin Tanya had a bum equipment sweatshirt. And I'll never forget my uncle questioning why she was wearing clothing that celebrated toilet paper. Get it, bum equipment? Oh, man. Amazing. Okay, back to the Moser Reebok Pump watch. I love Moser because it's not the typical stuffy high-end watchmaking. You see people like Waco interviewing some of these buttoned-up executives this week at Watches and Wonders. And to me, anyway, that is such a huge turnoff. Moser is the antithesis of that, and that's why I love the brand so much. Moser comes out with something like this, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the watch of not only this week, but the year so far. This might be my number one. Let's record that episode right now. It literally has a pump, and that is how you wind the watch. It's orange. It looks like the pump on the Reebok Pump, if you remember that. I'll put a link in the show notes. Reebok is apparently bringing that back, and if you buy this watch, you get a pair of the sneakers. There's a white version of the watch and a black version of the watch. If you buy the white one, you get a pair of white Reebok Pump sneakers. Black, you get the black sneakers. Amazing. I absolutely love it. You can watch the power reserve go up on the watch while you're pumping it as well. This watch has 72 hours of power reserve. Each pump is 1 hour of power reserve. So you give it 72 pumps, and that will give you 72 hours of power reserve for the watch. It's incredible. And you can't overpump the watch or overwind the watch, right? You can pump it as many times as you want. Moser realized that you're going to want to press this button. It's like the Neomatic World Timer. That button is just fun to click even if I'm not leaving a time zone. It's just like something to play with. It's like a dive bezel. It's a fidget spinner. The pump can be a fidget spinner on this watch. You can't overwind it. You can press that pump as much as you want, and it's not going to damage the movement. Incredible. Now, this is a limited edition of 250 pieces and costs $39,000. I will never get one of these in my lifetime unless things drastically change. I don't see that happening, but it's so darn cool. The case is made of forged quartz. I've never even heard of that. I have never wanted to be rich more than I do right now. After seeing this watch, I'll tell you. Maybe my Micron investment will pay off enough to the point where I can afford this someday. But this is by far my winner of the week. The Moser Reebok Streamliner Pump Watch. And also new watch collaboration champion. Goodbye, John Mayer G-Shock from last week. IWC probably had my favorite lineup as a whole this week. Again, full of watches that I'll never be able to afford. The Pilot's Venture Vertical Drive is another winner for me, specifically designed for space travel with a private company called Vast. This is the year it feels like Watches and Wonders went to space. Wait a minute. I feel like that needs an effect. Watches and Wonders goes to space. There we go. That's much better. Oh, God, what's wrong with me? Why are you listening? In addition to this IWC, the Bremont Supernova chronograph will be sent to the moon aboard the rover Flip, the Flex Lunar Innovation Platform. I think it will spend the rest of its days in outer space, this watch. I know we are supposed to hate everything Bremont does and immediately dismiss it and wish for them to just go away once and for all, but I actually really like this Bremont Supernova chronograph. It's cool. The 3D dial is neat. The black ceramic bezel is a nice touch. And not officially a Watches and Wonders release, but the Breitling Navitimer Cosmonaut Artemis II was announced after some product placement. The astronauts were wearing this on the Artemis II mission, right? So we weren't sure if this was a watch. We were pretty sure it was, and it was great product placement by Breitling. But yes, finally announced this week. Pretty cool Navitimer. So yes, space definitely took a front seat at this year's Watches and Wonders, or just around the new watch releases as a whole. Grand Seiko finally has a 40 millimeter diver. Well, they couldn't quite give us what we wanted, 40.8 millimeters, close enough. It's under the UFA model line with the extremely accurate spring drive, accurate to within 20 seconds per year. I don't know if it's quite the wearable diver GS fans were hoping for, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. Under 13 millimeters thick and 48.5 lug to lug is certainly doable for a lot of risks. So yes, I think this is going to be a home run. It's a little pricey at $12.5K US. I think if you're looking for a luxury diver and you don't want to wait for a Submariner and you don't like the direction Omega is going, I mean, this movement's incredible. And the dials are really nice. There's two dials, a blue and a green. I think I like the green, but they're both outstanding. I'll look for one on the secondary market. That's going to be a theme here we revisit. New watches seem to be getting further and further out of our grasp, it seems. Watches and Wonders this year really hit that home. I will need to buy every watch pre-owned from here on out. We have to talk about Rolex, I guess. Rolex celebrated 100 years of the Oyster case with the two-tone Oyster Perpetual. I like this watch. Incorporated their signature green on the dial with Rolex being written in green and then green accents on the indices. Two-tone bezel. We saw some teasers that it might have a two-tone bracelet as well. Actually, the outer links, which I'm glad they didn't do. Two-tone center links would have been nice. I feel like it was a miss not doing that, honestly. So it's just a stainless steel bracelet, a stainless steel watch with a gold bezel. I think the crown is gold as well. This watch is going to be impossible to get anyway, but I don't know. You might as well have incorporated a two-tone bracelet. I think the OP works two-tone. Looks a little unfinished with just the gold bezel, in my opinion. And people ripped on Gerard Perregaux for cheaping out with capped gold center links on the Laureato 50. I kind of feel like Rolex cheaped out here, but it's a very nice watch. Very nice watch. And then Tudor, celebrating 100 years since the brand was trademarked. Not of their first watch, the trademark. People were expecting something to celebrate that, but I have news for you. You're never getting a Tudor Submariner. You're not getting it. It's not going to happen. The Monarch is interesting. Tudor mostly focused on his Black Bay line. Shocker. I was talking to Keith about the releases this year, and he said that Tudor now has essentially made the Black Bay 58 a perfect watch. It's now Meta certified, has the T-Fit clasp, and can be bought on the 5-link bracelet in addition to the Oyster. They added a blue Black Bay 54, a full ceramic version of the Black Bay 41 with a ceramic bracelet. That's I like the dial on that. That's just a cool blacked out watch. My favorite thing they did, though, was a subtraction. They eliminated the blue Black Bay 58 from the lineup. I never found that blue appealing to begin with, really. It was just like an ugly blue to me. I know it's a very popular watch, and people are screaming at me right now over the radio or however you're listening. But yeah, I don't know. That blue never did it for me. I much prefer the blue on the Black Bay 54 or the Pelagos. But I think this was a great move, getting rid of that watch. As the Black Bay line grows, subtraction is key. Omega, Grand Seiko, pay attention here. Tudor actually did some house cleaning. Omega is in desperate need of doing that. I found a graphic that had all of the Black Bay offerings listed. The Black Bay 58, the Daring Black Bays with my Lagoon Blue 54, and there's one other model in that. Then you have the 41. It's growing, but I think it's still organized. If they add anything else, I do feel like they need to eliminate more models. The one thing I would eliminate, and I'm not sure why they did it, they only released it last year, the Black Bay 68. Is anybody buying those? I rarely see them online. I was thinking they might add to that model line this year at Watches and Wonders, and they still could. They release watches throughout the year, but I don't know. Get rid of it. It seemed like a silly addition in the first place. Do like your big brother Rolex does and keep the lineup clean and concise. I don't know. I feel like now if they add more Black Bays, what would go? The 925 silver, would that go if they add another 58? The bronze? They're really neat and they're outliers, they're unique materials, but I don't know. They may have to go. I'm not sure how well those sell. I've owned both great watches, both novelty attractions, I would say, but I'm not sure how well they sell. But yeah, we'll see what Tudor does. But yes, I was a big fan of the house cleaning that they did, getting rid of the BB58 blue. And as we've talked about, Tudor is another brand moving up market. A Black Bay 58 is now $5,300 USD, give or take. That, along with not releasing anything significant to celebrate 100 years, left enthusiasts disappointed, right? That's all I'm reading about when it comes to Tudor, how disappointed everybody is. We all had much higher expectations. You know who's absolutely thrilled with Tudor's Watches and Wonders offerings this year? Longines, right? Their $2,200 Hydro Conquest update just got a lot more attractive. Now $3,000 less than a Black Bay 58 new at retail. And for $200 more, you can upgrade to the mesh bracelet. You get 2 different sizes, the 39mm and the 41, acceptable for most wrists. I've seen a lot of people who are waiting for Watches and Wonders before buying the Longines Hydro Conquest update, just to see what Tudor did. And then being disappointed and going with the Hydro Conquest. Did Swatch Group do it again? They obviously do not present at Watches and Wonders, but like the Moon Swatch 4 years ago, a pre-Watches and Wonders release kind of steals the thunder from a lot of affordable watches released during Watches and Wonders. And that brings me to the direction I want to take with this episode. This is going to be a shorter episode. Just sort of rambling off the top of my head here. The Hydro Conquest has been out for a bit now, a month or so, and it's taken the watch world by storm. Right? That's all I'm seeing. Videos, Facebook posts, Instagram posts. Everybody is in love with this watch. Not everyone is convinced, though. I think plenty of YouTubers are heaping praise on it, but many are wondering what all the hubbub is about. It's a nice update, but let's face it, it's kind of bland. Sort of derivative. Kind of looks like a Submariner, right? I saw somebody online ask why everyone is going gaga over this watch when the Oris Aquis already exists and is arguably a better watch. The Ocean King from Manta already exists and is arguably a better watch. Well, I have a simple answer to that. That we'll dig into a little more. The Hydro Conquest is new. So why will we almost always pick a hot new release over something that already exists that is arguably better? Like the Aquis, like the Ocean King, maybe something from Formex. Reading from cadence.com, Consumers get excited about new products due to a psychological craving for novelty, which activates the brain's reward center. They often perceive new as inherently better, offering improved, faster, or more status-driven experiences, even if functional improvements over existing equally good products are minimal, right? There's also that FOMO thing. Everyone is talking about this watch. I'm being inundated with videos. This is the cool watch to have right now. The Aquas has been out for a year. Why would I get that? I don't want that. I want this new thing. I want this new exciting watch that everyone's heaping praise on. Continuing, neuroscientists have now determined that the appeal of new is hardwired into our brains. Novelty activates our brain's reward center, which may have been an evolutionary advantage to our ancestors as they encountered new food sources or other elements of survival. Today, we are no longer hunters and gatherers, obviously, but the novelty-seeking circuitry is still active and makes us find new products attractive. Even repackaged old products, right? Which the Hydro Conquest kind of is. It does kind of look like a different watch, but hey, this is an existing model line that's been around for a long time. Dr. Bianca Whitman at the Wellcome Trust Center for Neuroimaging at University College London says, I might have my own favorite choice of chocolate bar, but if I see a different bar repackaged, advertising its new, improved flavor, my search for novel experiences may encourage me to move away from my usual choice, right? We like new. I might be an Oris guy, but I see this new Hydra Conquest. I'm selling my Aquas. Get out of here. My Manta. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Whitman speculates that dopamine, a neurotransmitter that is part of the brain's reward process, we hear about that all the time, right? Dopamine hit. I'm buying a new watch. It's a dopamine hit. Dopamine is released when a novel choice is made. The neuromarketing message then seems simple. Making a product new in some way may give it a boost when compared with competing products. At the same time, marketers should be mindful of long-term brand attachments. Remember New Coke? For example, changing a brand's logo might provide a short-term boost, but might also weaken brand familiarity and attachment. We've seen the negative side of New Bremont. Complete reimagining, and that was not received well. So much so, I've heard nobody was at the Bremont booth at Watches and Wonders. Ghost town. Nobody pays any mind to their watches. Like I said earlier, it's cool to like crap on them. We're not supposed to like them. We're all supposed to gang up. I like what they do to a point. Some of the more interesting watches. I agree the logo is generic. That land, sea, air thing is done by a million brands. But I don't know. They're doing some cool stuff. They're not dead to me. I'm willing to give them a chance. Now, will I buy one? Again, I'm probably not going to put my money where my mouth is, to be honest. The prices are bonkers as well. They might be pricing people out in addition to the new image, which was not well received. All right, so with all that said, let's go back to the Hydro Conquest. It's new, so it's fresh in our minds, right? The morning it was released, my YouTube inbox was inundated with videos from major YouTubers who got hands-on with the watch. They timed that when the embargo is over. They all come out at the same time. This watch, that watch. Harrison Elmore, Chisholm Hunter, blah, 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 blah. They all had these watches in hand for a review. Very smart for Longines to do this, by the way. I don't remember them doing this kind of YouTube marketing blitz before, but yeah, smart. It worked. I think it worked. Yeah, so when I see all this, I'm not exactly going to have the Aquas on my mind when I'm looking at video after video about a hot new watch. And then there's the brand Longines. Enthusiasts clearly resonate with this brand, right? They love the brand. It's a beloved brand, and when they come out with a good watch for a great price, we're just going to automatically favor that brand with history. Brand cachet, history, and story go a long way. Why does no one go gaga over the Oris Aquas when it's refreshed, or the Manta Ocean King? Well, in the case of Manta, and I'll just speak for myself here, there's just not a whole lot going on there except for a good watch for the price. For some, that's enough, but for a lot of us, it just isn't. Sure, it's well finished, well made, but ultimately Manta is a brand that makes well finished watches with fairly derivative designs. They're sort of a, I'll say it, Rolex homage brand. There's not a lot of meat on the bone otherwise, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. I've said that before about Manta. Never done much for me. It's a great watch that I might wear for a couple weeks after buying it, but once the honeymoon wears off, it doesn't really vie for wrist time. And then when a brand like Longines comes out with something comparable for a good price, the Manta will be the first to go, so I can replace it with the Longines, right? Oris. Oris has a rich history. They're an older watch brand than Rolex. They've never gone out of business, continuously been running, survived the quartz crisis, yet they still get overlooked by many watch enthusiasts, especially enthusiasts who are moving up market after being in the hobby for a few years, right? Ironically, it used to be Oris who made these massive YouTube pushes with new watch releases, right? Like Longines just did with the Hydro Conquest, sending their watches to any YouTuber with a decent-sized audience, paid ski trips for YouTubers. It used to be a joke with me and my friends. Man, how much is Oris paying these people? They don't do that much anymore, and their coverage has dropped drastically. I like their releases this week at Watches and Wonders, that 35mm Oris Star. The size might be a little off-putting for some, but it's an accurate historical re-edition, I think. Those Atelier complication watches are nice, but haven't heard much about them. Keith didn't even hear of that Atelier complication watch. He thought the 35mm Star or a Star was their only release. But yeah, they just don't get the coverage they used to. So yes, the Aquas is a great original dive watch, but it's forgotten in the wake of Longines reimagining the Hydro Conquest. All right, so it doesn't take a neuroscientist like Dr. Whitman to figure out the other reason the Hydro Conquest has been such a smashing success so far. The price. I mentioned it, $2,200 base price for one of these things. What's been the overwhelming conversation for about a year now when it comes to the watch industry? Increasingly high prices for watches. Price hikes seemingly every quarter. Tudor raised prices at the beginning of the year, January 1st, and then again on April 1st. Is there going to be another one on July 1st? If there is, I'm out. I'm out. In my episode last week, I talked about the Nomos Club Sport Neomatic World Timer being the affordable hit of last year's Watches and Wonders. They had 2 standard models they released and then 6 limited edition models that sold out instantly, basically during Watches and Wonders week. I secured mine last year during Watches and Wonders while my AD was still in Switzerland. I got the Dune colorway. It was limited to 175 pieces like the other limited editions. I paid $4,700 for that watch. This year, Nomos updated that line with a 3rd standard production colorway, a white dial. I think it looks awesome. Retails for $5,500. I got my very hard to get limited edition for $800 less. This is only one of countless examples of prices going bonkers in the last year. So, in the midst of all this, when watch collectors are wondering if they're being priced out of the hobby, Longines comes out with the Hydro Conquest for $2,200. A great watch from a big brand. We didn't expect to see something like this again from a big brand. We thought it was going to be micro brands that saved the day with this kind of pricing, especially from a Swatch Group brand, right? The flagship Swatch Group brand, Omega, is absolutely losing the plot when it comes to pricing, the poster child for high prices when it comes to watches. So you're damn right we're excited about the Hydro Conquest, even if it isn't the most exciting design. It kind of looks like a Submariner. The weird circle indices at the 6 and 9. Who cares? It's $2,200 and it's a damn good watch. I almost want to buy one just as an FU to the watch industry. Like, hey, Switzerland, we're still out here wanting to buy watches if you weren't pricing them out of your ass. I'm not even sure what that means, but I'm on a roll here, so I'm just going to stick with it. Watches and Wonders as a whole is a perfect example. Look at all the new releases. Prices are high. Oh, it's kind of discouraging. I've been talking with my pal Homer about it. He's disillusioned with the watch hobby right now because of the prices, and he might look to take up other hobbies just for a bit. Not totally go away from watches, but just take a break from watches. Get more into photography. I can't blame him. It feels like the days of buying new watches are over for a lot of us. New to us or used is the way, right? It's a shame because for reasons I've explained, we love the concept of new and new watches. It's a very exciting week to be a watch enthusiast, Watches and Wonders. Many even make the pilgrimage out to Switzerland for it, right? To see all the novelties from the brands. I think we'll still have fun mocking up watch designs we want to see. Next year's Watches and Wonders, we all do that, right? This is what we want Tudor to do, mock up our own AI versions of the big block or something, speculating what Rolex might do. You see how much we care. We care a lot. Back to my earlier point about not necessarily putting our money where our mouth is. Longines ultimately did give enthusiasts what they want with the Hydro Conquest, a nice looking but safe design. You don't have to do a ton of research to find out that's what actually sells. Why do you think there are 1,000,001 copies of the Rolex Submariner? Because people like safe, timeless designs. The Speedmaster, same thing. Why has the design not changed in 55 years? Because it's a timeless but safe design. All right. I'm going to see if I can put together a coherent episode. Yeah, shorter episode this week. It's been a busy week, but I did want to touch base about Watches and Wonders. So many great breakdowns of Watches and Wonders from other podcasts and YouTubers. So I thought I would kind of do my own version of it. So yes, as I've explained, we love new, the concept of new. Even if we have watches in our collections that are better than new watches, we'll trade those in for the new watch. It must be the dopamine hit, like Dr. Whitman said, right? For whatever reason, though, is that in danger? Can we get as excited about new watches if we just can't afford them responsibly? If we have to wait 6 months for it to get out on the secondary market, is that as exciting? Because in that meantime, more new watches are going to be released. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird time to be into watches right now. I see it getting further and further away from me. But somehow I still always make it work, right? But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about the pricing, Watches and Wonders releases? Are you drawn to new watches, even though you may have a watch that's better than the Longines Hydro Conquest already in your watch box? Did you sell it off to buy this because it's new and exciting? I want to know. Did this Hydro Conquest give you the dopamine hit you were looking for? You can reach out on Instagram. Shoot me a message on there. This gets released as a YouTube video. Feel free to comment on that video. I'm pretty quick to respond. And you can also text the podcast. As I always say, I can't text you back. Until next week, remember, sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the hydrant, but hey, at least you're outside. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Watch Dog Podcast. See you later.